So I think next, let's do the support because I think that's just going to give a better introduction to bot lane anyway.
Hmm.
Who is AD carry but a way to kill minions? That's it. So let's let's start with support, and then we'll go from there.
Just okay.
Okay. So I have very specific, very specific metrics that I'm using to measure what I think makes somebody a good bot laner right now. That is going to be laning. It's going to be roaming, difficulty, counter picks, objective control, and team fights or skirmishes. So these are all big areas that I'm taking heavily into consideration whenever I'm looking at the champions here in. Now, starting with supports, I think in OP, it's just Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank is always OP. He is the single support that no matter what state of the game, you can pick him. It doesn't matter. You always have potential to win. All you have to do is get one good pick at one good time, and it's ridiculous. He changes the game completely in every way, especially bot lane. He almost auto wins the laning phase just by the fact that he can step close and never even use an ability. He doesn't even have to use his Q. He just has to look at you and stand close. That's it.
hmm do a little taunt or
OP.
something. I would say
It's
this
so
much,
dumb.
2 cents, right? Whenever I play bot lane, ADC or support, this is my ban every time.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep. OP. I think the only other champion I would actually write. There's only two other champions right now that I would put in OP. One is Annie. Annie is still OP. I think she's about to leave it though. She's been getting hit already. She got a pretty big nerf recently, and I think she's got another nerf coming. So she is OP, but I don't think that's gonna last. I think she will still be very good just because she counters a lot of the other good supports, but she's not gonna be busted anymore. I think she'll move down to like S.
And not too many supports could do what she does. That's what I've seen. Like
She counters all of them.
there's not too many supports that could just walk into a team fight and stun 3 people and walk the fuck away and
Yep.
then give a shield and it's not.
She can tank objectives with her ult. She can do all. She's very versatile. But the biggest thing is she is a point and click stun champion, one of the only ones in the entire game, and that's a busted ability. That is so strong.
Yeah.
So I think Annie would still be up there. Moving on to S tier, I've got
You
quite
don't
a
have
few here.
you don't have Thresh and OP?
I don't have Thresh OP, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason for
Mm.
that. So Thresh would be my first pick in S tier,
I think
and
Thresh should be OP in any other list, but remember we are still focused on the solo queue stuff and relying on
yeah,
teammates. You can't
yeah.
carry a
I'm
game
looking
unless you have good
exactly.
teammates with Thresh.
I'm looking at this in a really big picture context, trying to be
Gotcha.
a little bit more general. So I put him in S largely for two reasons. The simplest reason is he's he's getting nerfed really hard. Like he's getting nerfed. That sucks. His Q cooldown is getting hit pretty heavy, and he's already on the verge of not being OP. He's just barely there. But the fact that you have to rely on a whole ass team all the time and solo queue dynamics are very, very hard for him. And then you just have to be a good player to play him properly. I think, yeah, right now I'm putting him at S, and even there, you still have to be good. You can't. He's not just an auto pick by any means, but he's at the top for sure.
Yeah, I think in like
Next,
team game flex or pro play, he's insane because you could sit there
yeah,
and set up his kit the way you need to, like throwing the lantern over the wall for the jungler, shit like that. You can't always do that and know it's gonna work if your jungler's yelling at you and cursing you out.
yeah. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. And if you like land the queue and you throw your lantern, it's a perfect engage. You go in and then nobody follows. You just you're just dead. It sucks. Anyway, so this one I'm not sure about actually. So Milio, I'm having a hard time deciding if I want to put an OP or S. I think right now Milio is kind of OP, but that's just new champion syndrome. I think really Milio is just an S champion though, and I feel like he'll be an S champion for a long time. So I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, just as Teddy did, go ahead and put him there. He's S. He's good, Very good. He's kind of boring to play, not gonna lie, but he's a very, very, very solid champion, just like expected. And I think his utility is always gonna keep him as a very, very good champion.
There's a hidden gem.
Yeah, he's nuts. Senna. Senna's nuts. Senna's the only remaining AD carry support, right? All of those others, Jin, Caitlyn, Ash, Twitch, all these other people who were playing as AD carry supports that kind of phased out. Senna has stayed strong and been very, very good. She did definitely get hurt whenever they changed the glaive, whatever it's called, that kills wards instantly. They made it so it no longer one shots wards. Umbral glaive. That item change definitely hurt her, but she's still just really, really good. So I think she's S. And I would put Rakan here. Rakan is really good.
That's
He's
who I thought should have been the last OP low
in
key.
in OP. I have a hard time putting him in OP just because he's pretty counterable. And
How?
I might put him as top S. He can get knocked out of a lot of his animations, and that cancels them. He's pretty easy to space around, and the only reason that he's super insanely busted and has been is that Zaya's been super insanely busted and has been. But now Zaya's gotten nerfed really hard several times in a row. The items that Zaya builds has gotten nerfed really hard. The difference between playing Rakan with a Zaya versus Rakan without is huge. It's a
Hmm.
totally different champion. So when Zaya is good, Rakan is the best support in the game. When Zaya is not good, Rakan loses power. And that's why I think he's S versus OP. I wouldn't play him in every matchup, but if you have a Zaya and you have a favorable matchup, he's always should be one of your top picks. Um, Pike. All the hookers. So I think the last ones that fell out S would be Pike and Nautilus, basically. No, Pike, Nautilus, and Soraka would be my last S picks. Pike and Nautilus for the same reasons as Thresh and Blitzcrank. They're just not quite as good at it. Pike is a little bit more committal of these. So Pike, he's like squishier. You have to play a little smarter. You have to be a little bit better with him. Nautilus is pretty brain dead and super easy to play and very good if you land your stuff in. You're ahead, right?
I
Yeah,
think
like he's
not goes because like he counters these two. They're
well,
counters.
he
All of
he
these
does.
counters are
Yes,
Nautilus.
exactly. So
Like
I'm
if I
cool
see
with
any of
this.
these, I'm picking
Yeah.
Nautilus.
And Soraka, I think, is one where she's good across the board. She's good in bronze. She's good in diamond. It doesn't matter. She's just a very good champion. She always has been. She always will be.
Mhm.
Um, solid pick. Now, in these next few, I have some asterisks or like asterisks next to them because I think that they could be sometimes considered as if you play them in the right ranks, but generally, I don't think they're that good of champions. They're just like pretty good. And that'd be Sona. Sona first. Sona, I don't think is all that great. She's just easy to play and she offers good stuff, but she's
Yeah.
not a good champion. So she's A. She's a solid A, I think. Like you will do well for the most part unless you get counterpicked. If you don't get counterpicked, you're gonna have an easy laning phase. That's it. Done. Now, Tarek, I will put here as well. Tarek is different though. He's like the inverse. Tarek is so fucking good in very specific matchups. But if you're not in those very specific matchups, he struggles so hard and he just feels like garbage. So I would, yeah, I'd kind of keep him in A, but you gotta be aware of the matchups in which you can actually play him in Excel. Now champions that are just always good for pretty much the exact same reason, and I would say basically in this order would be Zyra, Xerath, and Lux. They all do the same thing, and they all are basically in that order. Yeah, A. They just are long range, pokey damage, CC annoyances that make it really hard for the AD carry to do anything. Um, of those, I think Zyra is probably the best just because of her persistence with the plants, and she has a little bit more objective control around Dragon with those plants, vision control with the plants. But the Xerath is better for just raw poke and output in lane. Then next, I would probably put Zillion. Zillion is really good still. He's just boring. Nobody, I don't know. If you want to have fun, don't play Zillion. But if you want to win, Zillion's good, especially if you have the right champions on your team. And the last pick I would put in A would also be with an asterisk. and it would be Lulu. And that's my personal bias. I think Lulu's actually probably a B champion, but I can't do that to my girl. I don't know. She's so good against assassins. If you're against assassins or any other champions that really want to dive in or squishy or have very specific cooldown windows that they're working around, she is one of the best champions in the game. Outside of that, she's just really bad into this meta. She's very, very bad into the current meta. She does not do well into tanks. She does not do well into, well, the only thing that is her saving grace is she's really good with a lot of the good AD carries right now, and we'll get to that. So she's like top A, low B. I don't know. I want to see her in A, but she might be B. I'm not. I'm struggling over here. I'm struggling. Um, in my B rankings for sure, I put Renata. Renata is, I think, a pretty weak laner overall. You can be a bully if you're very confident and you're a really good player. But similar to some of the like hidden OP types, she does offer the strongest CC in the entire game. Her ult is the strongest CC in the whole game. It forces the enemies to attack each other. That's better than a charm. That's better than a suppression. It's better than a stun. Nothing exists better. And it's in an AoE. That is insane. The problem is her cast animations are clunky. They take a long time. She's easy to counter. She's got a little bit of an awkward identity, and oftentimes she needs to be dove on to be the most effective. So she shines when against a big dive comp. If you're against four people who just want to get on top of your team, great. Renata is like S. But outside of that, she's pretty not consistent. She's pretty not great. So I think B is a pretty good spot for her. Seraphine would be the next. I think Seraphine basically is the exact same. Everything I just said, same with Seraphine. She amazing CC, but don't play her as a support. Play her as an AD carry. There's no reason to play her as a support. I think next would be Brand. I think Brand is one of the safest damage picks for bot lane. You are always going to do a lot of damage on Brand, no matter what. All you need is Leandries plus one pen item, and you're good. You do damage. That's it. But he's really short range, and right now, with a lot of bot lane being dominated by CC tanks and long range poke, he just struggles really hard. Leona, think Leona is really good in low elo. She's just probably one of the best picks you can pick in low elo. If you want to get a kill, all you have to do is decide that and go in. Amazing, great. But that's all she does. So if you're in high elo and people know how to bait you or play around it, it's really hard, and you can really only play her in a very specific matchup. So she's okay. You can play her. Would never recommend it really. Karma, I think, has just been heavily nerfed. She was a solo laner too many times. Riot didn't like it, and they said, "Sit down. You're not allowed to do anything. You're trash." So I think she's one of the worst supports as far as like the enchanting role goes right now.
Yeah.
I would also put Janna and Nami right next to her. For pretty much the same reasons. There's just no reason why you would pick these enchanters versus all of the enchanters above them. All of the ones, Seraphine's even better. You've got Sona, who's way easier, way better. You've got
I think
Lux, who
Nami
kind.
is really favored in like kill lanes, right? Because
So
you could
here's
buff
the
up that
problem with
E.
Nami. Nami, I have an asterisk on, okay? And Nami is because, all right, so there's two problems with Nami, in my opinion. The primary issues are her ult animation cast time is very long. Like the windup takes like 0.75 seconds. So when you're getting dove on, it's really easy for champions to just step behind you and completely dodge the ult altogether. You have to really preemptively use it, which is totally fine, but it reduces the crisis management that she has. Furthermore, it's almost the same issue with her Q. So let's look at her Q versus like Emilio Q. All right, Emilio Q is a line nuke, right? So if somebody's coming straight at me and I Q them, I'm gonna hit them no matter what. Whereas with Nami, you have to do it on two vectors. You have to go back and forward and back, right? You can literally miss somebody in a line if they're coming straight at you because you have to hit exactly where they're going to be at the right time. And there's a long cast wind up on that too. So she's really easy to outplay. She's really squishy and really in lane. The primary thing that she is a heal bot plus somebody to apply E. That's it. She's just a healer who E's. And I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that's good enough. I think there's like two or three 80 carries that she's insane with, i.e., Lucian, but Lucian I think isn't that good either, and I'll get to why I think that's the case.
I also like her with the Draven matchup too. I think that's oppressive as
Lucian and
heck.
Draven are like the only two champions you really play her with. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. But I mean, she could be higher up here for sure. I still think she exists in the B range though, because when I look at what she offers, it might be better on the healing aspect than these enchanters, but it's way worse than any of
I
the
would
CC
personally
models.
lead her off on the B. I think if I had like a good player out of any of these supports, it would probably be the
Yeah,
Nami.
I could be convinced. I could be convinced. You could go ahead and do that. Hmm. All right, let's see. Who do we have next? I've got Swain. Yeah, Swain. So Swain also an asterisk. I think Swain is B, but I think he's high B. And I think this is like you have to know how to play him, and you have to know how to play him extremely well. And you have to also have an AD carry who plays with you and knows your potential. And if all of these things are met, then you can dominate bot lane with Swain.
Stars
It
align.
yeah, but if not, then he feels horrible. He feels so bad. He's so short. It's the same kind of issue that Brand runs into, where like all the things are there, but just the range. The range issue is so huge, you can't actually use your abilities most of the time. Vel'Koz. So Vel'Koz, I think, is the leader of the C tier. I think Vel'Koz is trash. You could play it. I would say it's not trolling, but there's literally no reason to play this champion. You have Xerath, Zyra, Lux, who are all much better champions than this and do pretty much the same thing. Yeah, I think C is pretty solidly where he sits. I think Shaco. Yeah, these are some wild picks now. Shaco works. He's weird. He works. He just changes the game. He's terrible. He's really bad, but he works. It is a thing. You can do it. I just don't really recommend it right now. I don't think it's very good. I think the changes to Pantheon. Um, Pantheon has always been a weird kill lane pick, and I still agree with that. I still think that you can play Pantheon, but I think he's like the worst C tier pick possible. Uh, The only other two oh wait, Alistair. Oh no, the Alistair's hidden OP. That's what it is. Alistair's hidden OP right now, yeah. He's so broken. He's not respected. He's definitely insanely strong, and he works really well with a lot of these top synergy 80 carries that we'll talk about in a little bit. So definitely consider playing Alistair, picking him up. I think Braum is hidden OP. Braum is kind of like Nami, where he's not good most of the time, but the champions that he's good with, he's very fucking good with. And those are aggressive champions that can win lanes really hard. So if you know what you're doing with Braum and you have the right 80 carry and you know what's going on, I think Braum's hit an OP.
I think Braum got up there too when they literally doubled his resistance that he gives to his
Yep.
teammates now. So
Yep.
before it used to be like 20 armor, 25 armor, 30 armor. Now it's 40, 50, 60 armor that you're getting just by him
Yep.
jumping to you.
Another champion, the last champion I would actually put in hidden OP, and a lot of people I don't think are onto this is Bard, dude. Bard is super hidden OP.
Mhm.
It's not that his pick rate is very low. It's just nobody really gives him any credit, and his ban rate
Bro, me
is
and my brother was
pretty
chasing a
much zero.
bard yesterday for like
Yo, bro,
three
it's
minutes.
ridiculous. Bard is insane. Yeah, Bard is so good. The thing is, you have to be one of the most cracked players to play Bard well. Bard is, I think, Bard and Thresh are probably the hardest or the hardest supports to master. Like
Yeah, I would agree. I think those two are just insane, bro.
it's very good. So if you know how to play him well, he's got the strongest objective control ability in the game. He's got some of the best roaming in the game. He's keeps up like I don't know.
He
He offers so
nerfs.
much.
He nerfs. What is that? Uh, um, oh man, why am I blanking? Rift Heralds. There you go. He
Yeah.
nerfs Rift Heralds. So like, if you ever get a Rift and I look, or if I ever get a Rift and I'm looking at bot lane and it's an enemy Bard and he's already level 6, there's no way I'm ever rifting bot lane. Like that's just
Yep.
out of the equation.
Yep.
That's insane. Out of a champion just by him being there.
That's it. Amazing. Um, Outside of that, I think there's quite a few don't plays. Uh, I think Morgana is just don't play right now. Just don't play Morgana, yeah.
Oof,
You can't max her W.
that's my baby.
Be- Yeah, I know. I know. Like she doesn't offer anything. You have to max her Q or her shield for her to be a support. If you max her Q, you can't help your laner push at all. You don't have any wave control, and all you're doing is fishing for Qs, and the enemy knows that, and all they have to do is dodge it, and then they run at you, and you lose, and you space. You don't have any impact. If you max your shield, Same thing. You're just doing that to wait for people to jump on your AD carry, basically. I don't know. She has no real active play right now, and she doesn't offer anything that literally every other support does. It's terrible. She's in a real bad spot. It's very
Gotta
sad.
hit them cues, man. Hit them cues.
Yeah, you have to. You have to hit every single Q, right? It's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
I would also put Rel here right now. I think
What?
Rel
Dope
it
play?
don't play, and there's several reasons for this. Okay,
Huh.
I think Rel is on the verge. So I think Heartpulse was coming across a couple of these where they're on the verge of hit an OP and don't play. Rel is
Hmm.
here. Rel is on the verge of hit an OP and also don't play. But I'm gonna solidly put her in don't play simply because she is the next, as far as I understand, one of the next champions to undergo a complete change and be fully reworked. So under those conditions, the fact that she can make big plays right now, but she's so particular, so specific. And even then, it doesn't. The payoff of making a good play with Rel is so rarely found and appreciated that even when it is, it almost makes you feel worse. It almost makes you feel worse because you're like, wow, why can't I experience that more often? Oh, right, because this champion is a rock that doesn't move. It's just her mobility. It's the same thing that Rammus used to run into back in the day where they kept nerfing his move speed and stuff. She does one singular thing, and the moment that singular thing is inhibited, she's one of the worst champions of the game. Uh, let's see. Other champions. Oh yeah, Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger, yeah. Wow. People were playing a lot of Heimerdinger, huh? Don't play that champion. Do not play Heimerdinger, period, ever. Don't do it. I don't give a fuck. Don't do it. Mostly because Vigar. All you're doing is giving Vigar free stacks all day long. It's horrible. It's the most awful, terrible experience in the world to be 7 minutes into the game and look at the enemy Vigar who has 90 stacks because he's against a fucking Heimerdinger. It's horrible.
It's just extra free turrets for him to just auto
It's
queue.
so bad. And all of the extra range, all of the extra wave clear that's popular right now with 80 carries just destroys his towers now. Yeah, just don't play him. Just don't play him. He had his time shining. It is no longer. I think if you pick him now, you're trolling. Um, Yumi. Yumi's interesting. Yumi's really interesting. I think Yumi is still hidden OP. Okay, I think, but like it's weird because she's not a hidden champion. She's got one of the lowest win rates in the entire fucking game right now. And it's because of these crazy nerfs that they just hit her with. However, when you pick and play her with the right 80 carry and you're patient for 10 minutes and you just farm for 10 minutes, then suddenly you have some of the most unkillable stuff in the world. Like you pair this with Kog'Maw, you pair this with Zeri, you pair this with Xayah, you pair this with any of the top 80 carries, and it's insane. You pair this with Vigar, you pair this with Karthus, you pair this with Seraphine, and it's insane. So I think she still is, even though she's played a lot, she loses a lot. I think she's hit it OP. I think she's hit it OP. Don't play Maokaya. He had his time. Don't play him anymore. Gone. Period. Don't play Amumu. Gone. Period. It's not a thing anymore. If you're doing it, I think you're trolling. Don't play Jin. Don't play Caitlyn. Don't play Twitch. Don't play Ash. They're all bad. All those 80 carry supports, they're gone. Yeah, they don't work. Ash is the only one Ash can be C. Yes, Ash can be C. She's still trash. Don't do it.
I
Ash
think the
80 carries the
utility
thing.
is just insane.
But it's just the whole, yeah, it's just the whole, like, outside of that, oh, Jin, yeah, Caitlyn. Caitlyn was played for a minute. Don't do that, y'all. It's horrible. It's so bad. Um, and what else do we have here? I think that's it. I think that addresses most of them. Are there any that y'all feel I'm missing here? I think that, oh, no, I think that covers them. I think that covers them.
What about like Tom Kench? Is he still a
Uh,
support?
No, not at all. Nope, it's horrible. I wouldn't even put it on the list, kind of stuff. I don't even think he's. I didn't. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay. If you have to, he has to be at the absolute last position.
He gotta be better than those. He gotta be. He fucks those up.
Nah.
He beats those ass.
Yeah, but those others can just poke early and roam, right? That's the biggest thing. Like that's the
We're trying
only
to like
reason
sort
those
out
others are
the
good.
don't
Nah.
playlist.
Yeah, just don't even. Just don't even.
Say don't play
Yeah.
him more than you don't play these.
Pretty much. Pretty much. But yeah, I think that's it, man. I think that's it.
I
Unless
save
somebody wants to
this.
come at me with some really weird stuff, which sure, I
Mm.
guess.
Oh, let's look real quick. What about the MF support? That's the first thing I've seen.
I guess you can still play it. I think it's really, really bad. And I would put it in like the last C, probably, even behind Pantheon at this point. Same kind of stuff as like the Vel'Koz. Why would you play it? The poke that you have available to you in other champions that are already S and A tier, there's no reason. No reason at all. People were playing support Ezreal with that band. Or yeah, so that could be under don't play as well, just behind or with the Jin and all that stuff.
Hey,
Ezreal's in a
nice.
really bad spot, yeah. Ezreal's in a really bad spot.
Like this.